Welcome to our inaugural edition of the Lesson Tee presented by our friends at Dalhousie Golf Club. And there's a little look at the Dalhousie logo. You see the Lesson Tee presented by Dalhousie, and who better to have today than the Director of Instruction at Boone Valley Golf Club. And that's my friend and renowned teacher, Todd Meyer. Todd, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and inviting me to do this because we've known each other 35 plus years.
Yes, we have. No
And all these
question
people
about
in the golf world in St. Louis, Jay could flat play back in the
it.
day,
So
without a
could
doubt.
so could Todd. There's no question about it. Um, Off the bat, what we're going to do is we're going to talk some instruction. We're going to answer some questions from people that have submitted them. But off the bat, let me just ask you, with the whole COVID situation, how did that affect teaching, or did it?
So for me last year when the COVID hit, I shattered my kneecap in February. So I was out of commission basically till June. So I kind of missed the first part of it. And coming back, being in St. Charles, it was a little bit different, where we didn't have to wear masks outside. Now I'm teaching indoors in the county,
Yeah.
and we wear masks in the gym. Everybody that comes in the gym has to wear masks. It's Elevated Performance. It's owned by John Benny. It's a great place, but I didn't see any fluctuation for me other than me being hurt, up and down. But when I got back into it, I kind of did the same thing. And I know a lot of other guys in the area that I talked to still, they felt like they didn't lose anything. Actually, some gained some and some lost a little. I guess that more that did the programs that got canceled for junior golf programs. But the
Right.
one-on-one instruction, I don't think really hit home with a lot of guys because it's like the only thing that we were allowed to do.
Right.
We were allowed to.
Golf became a quote unquote safe place.
A necessity.
As much as it really has affected the golf business in a positive way. We're going to take some of those questions in a little bit. We're going to talk about your teaching philosophies, your principles, but we've known each other a long time, and you were kind of on track to be a golf professional or a golf pro.
Yeah.
But something changed, and you found a passion for teaching. Talk about that transition.
So I would say always playing high school golf, I would always try to help the other guys on the team. Now, if I made them worse or I made them better back then, I didn't know, but I was just always trying to,
Help.
put the puzzle together, and help the guys because, I really enjoyed watching people hit golf balls and trying to figure it out. And this is, when I was probably 16, 17, 18. And then, you know, going into college and then playing mini tours. And I'm like, man, I should give this a shot, So I give the PGA Q School a shot. And first stage, I have to go in a playoff and tattoo the first hole out of bounds. And, so typical thing. My nerves got me. And then I played on the Hooters tour. And I had some really good events in the Hooters tour where I'd shoot, 9 under, 10 under, 12 under. And these guys were shooting 24 under. And I'm like, I don't have 13 more shots. I said, maybe I can get to 12, 14, but I'm not getting to 24, 26 under. I mean, they would shoot 65, 64 every round.
I
If
know.
I played great, I'd shot 65, and the next day I'd followed up with a 71. So that's when I kind of realized I'm like, I love it, and I love the competition of it, but I'm going to be a family man, kids, and all that stuff. I'm not going to be a gypsy. I'm just because that's what I was going to do. So then I just got into more, and I was teaching off and on before I went and played on the Hooters and all the other stuff. So then I just really hit home. I'm like, I just want to teach. I want to watch people hit golf balls. I want to have fun with them. I want to just kind of tell them what I know, and then we'll kind of like figure it out together a little bit at the beginning, So at the first, when you learn how to teach, you're kind of learning yourself as it goes along. You don't know all the answers. I still don't know all the answers. And the only person I've seen to know all the answers, man, is Jim Hardy. Unbelievable guy. But So I just decided I'm going to teach. I'll play in the Gateway PGA stuff, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's kind of what happened when I realized that I don't have 24 under for 4 rounds.
A lot of us get to that point. There's no question about it. Some quicker than others. You mentioned Jim Hardy.
Yeah.
And if I asked Todd Meyer what your teaching philosophies are, I know that he is a big part of it. And I thought I had a better logo, but you could kind of
No,
see
that's good. That's
plain.
good. I mean, the logo, if you leave it there for a second, basically
Yep.
talks about a 1 plane and a 2 plane. And I mean,
Okay.
that's what's neat about that logo. But Chris O'Connell has also been a big influence on me. He's Jim's right-hand man. And Andy Trainer, who is a West Ham boy from England, was a big influence. They were very helpful with anything I've asked them over the past 7 years. So,
all right. So what does plain truth mean?
So plain truth, basically, it distinguishes between a 2-plane golf swing and a 1-plane golf swing. So a 2-plane golf swing is where your shoulders work more horizontal as your arms work more vertical. In the 1-plane swing, your shoulders work more vertical and your arms work more horizontal. And that's the thing. So when you get the top of a backswing, you see a guy like Bubba Watson. His arms are straight up in the air and his shoulders have turned very level or flat. And then you go to, the poster boy, Matt Kuchar. His shoulders are a lot steeper and his left arm is matching his shoulder line. So that's the difference between how you distinguish 1 plane and 2 plane when you kind of look at guys on TV. Now, there's some tricky guys like Louis Oosthuizen, who people think he is a 1 player, and he's not. He's more of a shallow or low arm 2-plane golf swing. Great golf swing, though. Just beautiful timing in that golf swing.
Well, and you and I talked about it before we started the show with some of the questions we're about to take. I mean, and I like the way you approach it. There may not be dead-on answers for everybody.
No.
I mean, it's just the way it is.
There's even hybrids that, Henrik Stenson is a hybrid. He's a 2-plane backswing with a 1-plane downswing, so there's hybrids and all this stuff. And Jim, like this book right here.
Yep.
The release right here. Unbelievable book with illustrations and Jim talking and Chris talking. It's a very simple book to read too.
Well, and you use the term simple, and I think some people get very frustrated as it relates to going to instructors, or that's the thing I hear. It's too complex to understand. When you get down to the basics of the plain truth, is it pretty understandable? I mean, it's not the golf machine.
Yes. No. I think if you read the book and you go on YouTube and you watch slow motion videos of the guys that are in this book, you can find anybody on YouTube. You could type in any golf pro's name, and you kind of look at it. The book really explains the different positions that they're in, how they're trying to work the club down, because the downswings are completely different. People think, oh, everybody's impact's the same. Well, how you get the impacts different. So I think if you looked at YouTube videos, looked at the book, I mean, it's really easy to follow. I mean, just Jim makes it easy. Jim makes it almost like, man, I should just know this right away. That's how he makes you feel that way when you are in a learning environment, with his certification classes. It's unreal.
And you are a certified, let's put that bad boy up again, certified plain truth instructor. And let's give some instruction. We got some questions from folks, and Kevin starts us off. He asks, can you recommend any putting or chipping practice or routines indoors? We know the weather's brutal right now in the Midwest and in St. Louis. Anything on that note?
So I think the best thing to do, like when you want to do stuff indoors, I think it's a really good time to work on a pre-shot routine. Because when you really just go out there and you chip and you chip and you putt, you're not really playing, like, you're not practicing how you're going to play. So
right.
I think it's a good time to get set up, try to find your routine. If you come in with the golf club with your right hand and your right foot, left hand on, get set up. Work on doing that, and then just work on making little motions. And I think hitting little, ball markers off the carpet, because you'll be able to, you don't want to hit pennies.
Right.
I heard a guy say hit pennies. Well, that dings up your brand new $200 Vokey wedge. So little plastic ball markers, chipping with those. But I think the routine, if you get a real good pre-shot routine, you could use a mirror and do it. And I always say this because I'm not a basketball guy, but my oldest son was. I would watch my son's routine when he took free throws. And I knew when he was going to make it, and I knew when he was going to miss it, because if he kept this one routine that his coach helped him work on, he shot like 86 or 87%. And when he didn't do it, he shot like 68%. So a routine is huge. It's overlooked too.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, I think a lot of people, there is no routine. And,
No.
and that's the thing. And if they just got in their mind, okay, this is what I'm going to do each time, even if it was just to prepare myself to set up, for the shot. And as you said, this time of year, thinking, there's nothing wrong with thinking about golf or thinking about your routine or how you'd like to play a certain hole. I think those are great ideas.
I mean, you can go and you can, like I said, go on YouTube, pull up some video of players, watch the routine they do. Like I love Greg Norman, how he stepped in with his right foot and his right hand, and set up. I mean, there's just, if you can come up with something that's yours, you don't have to copy, you can modify it. But if you continue to get in a better routine, you're going to get better at golf to me. If you're
know what, I'm going to follow up Kevin's question with my own. Are you a guy that believes something should trigger the golf swing? If you know what I'm saying. I mean, we've seen guys with a waggle or a forward press or this and that, or is that back to kind of what we said earlier, to each his own?
I used to have like the most god awful forward press.
Did you kind of go down a little?
Jim Cochran used to yell at me constantly. He goes, "You got to quit that crap, Meyer." So, I mean, everybody Snead had a little bump. Sam Snead had a bump. I mean, to each his own, as long as it's not extreme. Like, when I used to press it, my club probably opened up 15 degrees when I did it. So,
and then you got to compensate.
And then I had to flip it left to get it squared up. So, I mean, I got rid of that. But I just think to each his own. If you got a little bump, I mean, to me, the best thing when you play nice and fun golf, you don't think. You just react to something in front of you. And I think that's important.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Carol from North County. She wanted to let me know she's got neat feet, which good for you, Carol. She says, am I better getting a new driver, a putter, or a wedge to help my game? Now that's a lot to dissect. My suggestion would be maybe lessons before the other, but what about what Carol asks?
So, Carol, I would say the best thing for you to do is analyze your game a little bit and say, hey, how far did I hit my current driver? Does it put me in a bad position? If you hit it pretty decent and it keeps you in play and you get good distance, you don't need a driver. If you're up around the green, getting ready to approach the green, and you got a decent wedge that works for you, then you don't need that. Now, if you get up on the green and you have no idea what you're doing putting, maybe try a new putter that can help you line up better. And that's the vice versa for anything. If you putt good and you wedge it good and you can't hit a driver 50 yards, new driver. If you got a wedge in your bag that doesn't fit you, because I think it's important to get fit, which goes into a lot of, getting the right bounce on a club, finding just a wedge that's good for you to hit approach shots. So I would analyze your game and say, hey, my driver's pretty good. My wedge is good. I can't make a putt. Go with a putter. Or vice versa for all of them.
Pro, there was, a time a couple years ago where I would tell people that if they hadn't gotten a new driver or a new fairway wood or utility club in 3 or 5 years, they were missing out on the technology.
Yes, absolutely.
Are we still in that mode where if you haven't changed drivers in 5 years or 3 years, you may be missing something?
I would say I'm big with Callaway. So like the last few Callaways that came out, they're all good. They're not really crazy different. But if you go from Callaway from 5 to 7 years ago to what's available in the last 2-3 years, no comparison.
Yeah,
none at all.
I figured that would be your thought. Rhodesy, who's a good player, wants you to talk a little bit about bounce on wedges,
Mm-hmm.
and what bounce wedge is best for a tight or a bare lie?
Low bounce.
Low bounce.
Low bounce for a tight lie. So, I mean, if he's looking to hit kind of high spinny shots off of tight lies, then he wants to get like a 60 degree with a 4-degree bounce. So, but it also depends too with, the type of player you are, because people who are very sweepy and shallow need low bounce, and people who are kind of like normal and they take good sized divots, they need that medium bounce. And like guys like me, I take divots.
Right.
I need a very high bounce wedge. So I think another thing that's good for someone that like Rhodesy is looking at a type of grind too. So a low bounce with a proper grind. So even when you open or close the face a little bit, it doesn't make the face look crazy. So they got a lot of grinds that are, especially with Titleist, and Callaway's doing a little bit, that the grinds are very important. But
yeah, go ahead.
High bounce is for people who take big divots.
Okay.
People with low bounce barely hit the ground, and the majority of people are in the middle where they hit the ground a little bit. That they want medium bounce. So,
and that's based on the angle at attack, if you will.
Right here. So the bounce is on the back where my finger is. Here's the leading edge. This is a plain one. This is 10 degrees. So this is a middle bounce wedge, but it is a St. Louis Blues wedge.
Sure. How about that grind?
Yeah, but it's interesting, because when you get a high bounce wedge, this trail bounce is sticking down pretty far, and this is sticking up. And when you get low bounce, it looks like there's hardly anything.
Do you do anything adjustment wise? And I guess maybe I'm thinking more chipping around the green or certain shots, moving hands forward or anything like that. I interacted with Dave and said, we talked about those bare lies, and it's hard to get the feel, and then you get handsy and try and make it happen there.
Just remember when you do press your hands forward, you
the
take
angle,
the leading edge, and put it in the ground, and you take all the bounce off the club. So if you got a low bounce wedge, you can do this. You're just making something that's going to dig troughs. So I'm not too big on too much forward press. I think a little bit. So if I got a club in that position here, and I just give it a little bit, but you see people go like this,
right? Get where they shut it.
That club is not going anywhere except downward. So it's important, like when you close the club, you take the bounce away. When you open a club, you add bounce to the club. So I think people are better off like opening the club up a little bit and pressing their hands forward a little bit, because it kind of neutralizes it.
Yeah, I like that. Maddie Bear asks, and it's not necessarily an instruction question, but I'll be curious to see what your feeling is. This week, the PGA of America announced that at the PGA Championship, their Ladies Championship, and the Senior PGA, people are going to be able to use rangefinders or distance measures. The tour has been pretty silent on it. Do you have any feel on that?
Here's my theory on things. If everybody gets to use one, great. They're not picking and choosing. I think if they keep everything to where it's available for all the events that they're going to do, it's not. I wouldn't like them to do, okay, this event we're doing, and then we're not doing this event.
Yeah.
Just make it standard one way or the other. So I think using rangefinder, I have no problem. To me, it doesn't really. I might make caddies an easier job for the caddies, where they're not always, because you always see when they get back to like DeChambeau, and he pulls this book out of his back pocket, and he is like, he's so smart, and I give him credit. But
all right, I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you because you brought up DeChambeau. I've tried so hard not to stand him, and I've got a lot of respect for him. And it's probably grown out of the fact I've admitted to myself I don't understand.
Yeah,
he plays a game I'm not familiar with, which is fine.
Right.
You think it lasts? You think it comes in waves? Do you think he's able to sustain consistency over a season like a Woods or a McIlroy? What do you think?
I just don't know how his body is going to take this torquing and pressuring what he's putting on, his joints and his sockets of his body. Because one of my high school boys the other day, he goes, Coach Todd, you got to see this video. He sends me this video of him, 217 ball speed.
I mean,
217. I mean, Dustin Johnson is 190-ish, and he hammers it. 217 is off the charts. So your body's got to just. It's like I don't know. I don't know how he's going to handle the
wear and tear.
It's like G-forces. It's just I don't know. I do appreciate him, and I respect him because he said he was going to do it, and he went out and did it.
No,
so
no question.
You got to give him props. He's a little bit different, but the guy won a major. So good for him.
Going away. Did he win that major?
Oh, yeah.
Our pal Skip, who's got big time game, doesn't ask not asking necessarily instruction question. You've worked with Skip before, but he wants to know, and Skip and I were very lucky. You were not. How does a youngster get started in the game if they don't have country club access?
Okay, so I think the easiest way is CYC Golf, the Catholic Youth Council, offers a golf program in all their 5 districts. So I actually run the St. Charles district. I'm the coordinator for district. So we start 1st grade through 8th grade. So 1st through 4th grade is called the Little League. So they do 6 instructional clinics with a PGA, LPGA professional. And then they play 2 rounds on the pitch and putt course of 9 holes, which are the holes that are 30 to 40 yards long, which is great for kids that age, where they can actually, like, they wanted to. I've seen one kid throw it on the green because he couldn't hit it one day, which was the cutest. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. But so they offer that program. And then for the older kids, 5th through 8th grade, they get 4 clinics with a golf pro. And then they play 6 high school matches against other schools. And there's a team championship, and then there's an individual championship at the end of the year. So for the little kids, it's $115, $120 now. And then for older kids, it's $165. So it's not expensive. It's a great environment. The pros that help do it all are great, especially Meyer, and I can't speak for everybody else, but they're all the PGA pros and LPGA pros that help are phenomenal with the program.
Well, and I know you can contact the CYC.
It's called playcyc.org.
Okay, playcyc.org. There's a simple way at the beginner level or to get them started, to get them introduced to the game. And a good question from Skip. Larry asks, what is the best ball position and setup to gain confidence in playing standard bunker shots around the green? I'll be curious what you say about ball position in bunkers.
So I would do this at first, and I'd make it easy. I would set up square. I would set up the ball in the middle of my stance. I would put a little bit weight forward and slightly open the club up and just feel like you're going to hit some 30 to 40 pitch shots out of that bunker. And I think that's the best way to start out with somebody, because you don't want to take them all the way up to the front. You don't want to take them all the way to the back. You want to kind of put them in the middle, because it all depends on what kind of swinger you are. Are you hitting down a lot? Are you hitting up a lot on it? So I think you go from the middle, then you could kind of figure out where you're hitting out in the sand, after you hit about 10 shots. And then you kind of adjust it, say, okay, I'm hitting too much sand. I'm going to move the ball up in my stance a little bit. I'm not hitting enough sand. I'm going to move the ball back a little bit in my stance. So I would keep everything. I'm always kind of like, I start in the middle and I kind of venture back and forth just a little bit and just see what happens. But center your stance, a little bit weight forward, slightly open face, try to hit 20 to 30 yard pitch shots out of the bunker and see what happens, and then go from there.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with bounce and altering things with when you move your hands instead of, it's a simple saying, but there's a reason why the loft is on that club.
Absolutely.
That sometimes you can overdo it and cost yourself.
Absolutely. It's like putting gas on a fire. That's exactly what happens.
All right. My 3 questions for you are brought to you by our friends at Dalhousie Golf Club, America's guest, Billy Morrow, down
Oh boy.
there. You know, if you ever want to play a
He
top
set me up
level,
with my wife.
he did he really?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
He set us up on our first date.
I didn't know that. He's
Yeah.
always doing good work. What are we going to do? And this is not for the general golfer who's watching now. What are we going to do about distance in the game? I mean, something is going to have to give. I don't know what's right. A gentleman asked kind of a question about that, saying, does it matter if you scale the ball back because the guys who still hit it the furthest are going to hit it the furthest? Where are we at? What can be done?
I mean, you talk about that where they talked about the ball at Augusta.
Right.
Well, if Zach Johnson and DeChambeau are changing that ball, I'm pretty sure DeChambeau is still going to hit it the same distance past Zach Johnson. So I don't know if it's going to have to be equipment. I mean, the moment of inertia on these heads, the ball. I don't know the right answer. I mean, I sat down and talked to Brian McMurray, my boss at Boone Valley one day, and like, I don't know what you can do because you can't scale the ball because it's still going to scale down for the guys who hit it shorter.
Right.
So, I mean, I think we're going to actually have to live with it. I mean, unless the USGA and I always forget the one in
RNA.
Thank you. The RNA, unless they come up with some gangbusters idea, I don't know what's going to happen because I just don't understand scaling the ball now. It's not going to change it for the pros that are playing now because the guys who hit it long will still hit it long. And
it only confuses the people that you teach on a daily basis. I mean, why is there 2 balls? What's this? Why do I need to use, all that stuff. On the urban tip, my man Todd Meyer, old school, best hip hop concert you ever been to?
Okay, so I've been to a lot, probably a lot of them. So my all-time favorite is Public Enemy. So I saw Public Enemy in I think 1989. I saw Beastie Boys around the same time frame. Run DMC, but I'll tell you one of my favorites was seeing Big Daddy Kane.
Ooh.
I mean, Big Daddy Kane was
he
was awesome. But probably Public Enemy 1989 was my all-time favorite because they had a message. They didn't just rap. They
just didn't get up there and throw it out. Yeah.
Chuck D was a preacher. He preached and he thought of what he was talking about. And being young back then, you think about all the stuff that he was right on a lot of this stuff. Stop the violence, just crazy.
A lot was in those words, my man. There's no doubt about it. If somebody wants to find out more about taking a lesson from you, I know things are a little different now.
Yes.
You're at a country club and an outstanding, in a sense, exclusive private country club. In normal days, I think you're able to do some lessons there, but right now it's just kind of wait and see.
We're kind of just riding the storm and seeing what happens with this pandemic that's going on. It's a shame, but down the road, my email, shoot me an email, and that's the best way to get a hold of me. And even if you have a question and I don't teach you, I answer questions from people all the time. So just feel free to ask anything. If I got the time, I'm going to hit you back and I'm going to give you my 2 cents. That's all I can do.
It ain't about the dough with Todd. It's about helping. I can tell you that. Or else we'd both be doing a lot better. My man, I appreciate your time, and hopefully we help some folks today.
Yes, and I appreciate you and what you've done for the St. Louis golf scene. You've been an instrumental part of keeping St. Louis in the loop with golf, pros, tours, and and your dad too. Your dad is he's one of my legends. I love.
Well, we're trying to bring it back strong, and thanks for being a part of it, brother.
You got it. Be good.